Hey everybody, how's it going? B Temple back again, and today we've got something incredibly interesting, and we hate to bandy about the word rare a lot, but this particular ration that we're going to have today is incredibly rare. So much so that I've never seen pictures of it or heard anything about it, aside from actually finding this particular one. So what we have here today is a Slovenian single meal ration. Up until this point, I only thought that Slovenia made 24-hour rations. We actually have one here for size comparison. So we've got a Type C and a Type C. So as you can see, the bags are, same sort of type of plastic, same color. The labels are different, but they are a little bit, obviously bigger in size. This is meant for 24 hours. I'm going to assume, based on the amount of components in here, I'm going to call this a 12-hour ration, although I'm not 100% sure if that's the case. It's either a 12 or an 8-hour ration, but I'm going to go ahead and, make an educated guess that this is a 12-hour ration. So we've got a Type C here and a Type C, and then we'll get to this one eventually, although I already have done a 24-hour Slovenian ration review. One of the few people to have, reviewed one of those before. This will be the first ever sort of review or anything about this particular ration, so I'm incredibly excited to get the chance to do that. So a little bit of background information. I know I may have said this on my last Slovenian review, but that was quite some time ago. So the Armed Forces of Slovenia, I believe it's also called the Slovenian Defense Force, only consists of about, I think, 6,700 members, and that's for both their land forces, Navy, and Air Force. So it's not a particularly large military. Slovenia itself as a country is not a particularly large population. It's around 2 million, something like that, I believe. So when we look at just ground forces, I'm sure their ground forces numbers are probably only, a couple thousand. And, why would they have made the switch from the 24-hour ration to this one here? Must be sort of a brand new issued sort of item. It's got an expiry date of the 10th day of the 11th month of 2019. So, that's November the 10th next year. So this is still a very, very fresh ration. Like I said, I don't like to do a lot of sort of educated guessing and surmising. But there's really no information out there about this particular ration. I just know that it exists. It seems perfectly legit. And the best sort of idea that I can get is that this is either meant for new NATO missions or exercises that the Slovenian ground forces are part of. Or there's also the fact that one of the NATO training, what they call Center of Excellences, and there are sort of a number of those over 20 around the world, different sort of training centers in various countries that are, of course, part of NATO for different reasons. In Slovenia, they actually have, it's right now unaccredited, but I assume it will be accredited sometime soon, the NATO Mountain Warfare Training, Center of Excellence. So this is perhaps maybe a ration that's meant for that, or it could just simply be a new way that the Slovenian army is sort of branching out and moving away from 24-hour rations and giving sort of better options. Maybe logistically it's better to have 12-hour rations than 24. I'm not entirely sure. All I know is that this is a single meal Slovenian ration, and up to this point it's never been seen before. So we've got all of our ingredients here in English, and then we've got everything here in Slovenian, and I don't really read Slovenian or speak it or anything like that, so we're gonna hope that most of the items inside also have some English on it. We'll figure out best what it is, but obviously we know what we're gonna get here. So first thing we'll do, let's get this opened up and then see what we got inside. So open it from the back. I don't want to ruin the packaging too much. So first we've got a pack of crispy crisp bread. And these are exactly the same as the crisp bread. This is what they call the bread substitute. This is the same crisp bread that I had in my previous ration review, which I think was like a ration that would have expired in 2016, something like that. So, for a number of years, this has been the standard sort of bread substitute. And it's actually really, really nice stuff. We have here our main meal. On the front it said vegetable hot pot, but inside this is beans and vegetable medley. It also comes with its own FRH. I've also got some boiling water going. I wasn't sure if there was going to be an FRH or not. So this is best before 10th of 2020. And it's made by Jamipsa. So interestingly enough, this looks a lot like the packaging that you would find in United Nations ration. So because of the fact that this looks like it's something that's from a United Nations ration, and maybe we'll see some of the other items inside are similar, these particular single meal rations may have been used or needed, I suppose, for perhaps a United Nations peacekeeping mission that Slovenia is part of. And I know they've been part of some of those missions before, so, maybe that's the reason why this sort of thing exists. And for dessert, something I've never actually seen before is a cinnamon cake. I've seen, orange and vanilla and chocolate, but I've never actually seen a cinnamon one before. And these are the same exact ones that you'll find in UN rations. These also show up sometimes in Swedish rations and a few other European rations. But once again, it's made by Jamipsa, which is in Spain, I believe. So yeah, interesting. Once again, similar packaging to the UN rations. We've got literally a small black garbage bag, I guess, for putting your refuse in. Actually got a second pack of bread substitute, which I don't think it was supposed to have based on the ingredients list. Actually, yes, it says it right there. Bread substitute, and then a 2. So there is actually supposed to be 2 of them. So what we got next is what they call the fish and vegetables. And this appears to be, I assume, the same as the last can of fish and vegetables I had. So I'm going to go ahead and guess this is mackerel. It's pretty much the same wording that they had on the previous can, except that the Skuza had a O at the end instead of an A. But I'm going to go ahead and, looking at the image and everything, just assume that this is going to be mackerel and vegetables. I mean, it could be tuna, who knows? But I'm gonna go ahead and assume it's mackerel. We've got another standard thing, which I've seen in my previous review, and that's a fruit bar with added vitamins and minerals. I remember the last ones I had of these were absolutely fantastic. We've got 2 vitamin mineral drinks, and I know from previous experience that these are orange flavored, citrus. I believe orange is the exact translation. These are actually really good as well. A lot of the packaging looks very similar, but I know this has been updated a little bit. This is still the same exact packaging. That's still the same exact packaging as, the previous 24-hour ration I did. Got ourselves an instant coffee and a coffee whitener. 2 packs of sugar. 2 hand sanitizers. Really fancy too. We got aloe vera in it. And then a cutlery set with a knife, fork and spoon, and a little napkin. So this is what you get for, I'm going to assume this is a 12-hour ration. Seems to be a little bit more than what you would probably think you would get in an 8-hour ration. So what we're going to do now, I guess, is get everything laid out on a tray and get some stuff prepared. So this is what we're going to have for our main meal, everyone. We don't need the second pack of crisp bread right now. It's off to the side. We don't need 2 mineral drinks right now. The first main thing we're going to do, obviously, is get our main meal prepared. So it's inside a little Ziploc bag. There's a little bit of crumbs. I think one of the packs of crisp bread may have a little hole in it somewhere. So we got our beans and vegetable medley. Get the nutrition info look there. It's a 350 gram pouch, so a fairly good size ration. And we've got our FRH with just 1 heating pad. I've got some boiling water already over there, so I think I'm going to use that. That's probably a little bit more of an efficient way of heating this up, so I'll be back in 1 second. And while that's doing its thing, I guess we'll get some of the other stuff ready to go. First, we'll mix up our drink. So remember, this is our vitamin mineral drink. It should be orange flavored. Now, this is meant for 500 mils of water, and as you can see, this has a tremendous amount of vitamins and minerals in it, so they obviously make it for that sort of purpose. It's not just like a few electrolytes and that's it. That's an incredibly strong orange smell coming off of there. I remember the last time I would have had this, it was fantastic, so seeing that ration was actually like over a year expired when I had it. This one is Still got more than a year left in it. So this should be very, very good. Some of our other items opened up. We got our fruit energy bar with vitamins and minerals. So this looks like your sort of standard date and raisins kind of bar. Very soft, very malleable. Got our cinnamon cake, which I've said before, I've never actually seen this type before. This should be interesting. Of course, it's wrapped in this kind of wax paper. And it's got that spice cake kind of look to it. And it smells amazing. It does smell an awful lot like US spice pound cake. We've got our crisp bread open up. We're not going to need all 6 pieces. It's interesting they don't give you a spread of any kind. I mean, yes, obviously you get your fish and vegetables, you could put it on there. Your main meal, I guess you can put it on there. But there's no like sort of honey or jam or anything like that, which you would have found in the 24-hour rations before that. So there's a few sort of lacking items, I guess. I guess the last thing that we have to get opened up before our main meal's ready to go is our fish. Now, if this is mackerel, I'm not a huge fan of mackerel as opposed to, say, tuna or something like that. So I don't know how this will go. But this does look similar to what I've had. And I'm going to open this just off camera a little bit. Because the last time I tried to do this, I obviously was doing it a very inefficient way up in the air, and I made a state. So, yeah, we'll just do it off to the side. Yeah, and that worked out a lot better than last time. Move these items, give that a bit more space. It's a very pungent tomato and fish smell, which would lead me to believe more of the mackerel as being the main item as opposed to tuna. Mackerel is going to give you that much more pungent, standard fishy kind of odor, I guess is the word to use. Odor makes it sound bad, but for someone who's not a huge seafood fan, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of mackerel. But because this is actually in date and not, past expiry, hoping that maybe, the flavor is a little bit better than it was last time. So, we've just got our knife and fork here. This napkin, if you can hear it, feels like it's almost cardboard. This is an incredibly rough napkin. I can't see it doing much of a good job of sopping up any sort of liquid. And I certainly wouldn't want to use this as toilet paper, but it is what you're given. So our main meal's been heating up now for a few minutes. I'm going to go check on it and see if it's ready to go, and then we'll come back. So yeah, it's a little bit bland, I guess is the best way to put it. It could certainly use a little bit of black pepper, and because the ration doesn't come with it, I'm not going to add any sort of on my own, because I don't like to add things that didn't actually come with the particular ration itself. But you're really getting mostly is, like I said, the pinto beans and the white beans sort of flavor. You're not getting a whole lot of what I would call individual vegetable flavors. Like you can't really pick out the green peas or the corn or the red pepper. What you're mostly getting is that kind of, canned beans kind of flavor, which if you like that kind of thing, it's perfectly okay. And I do actually enjoy that. So this is actually pretty tasty. It just needs a little bit of something extra. Even though there's no meat in it, you're getting pretty much everything you're going to need. You're getting anywhere from like 15 to 16 grams of protein in this main meal. You're getting 12 to 13 grams of fiber in this meal, which is going to be very important. Got to keep it so regular. Yeah, so let's try our crisp bread next, just on its own first. So this stuff is just amazingly airy and light, very similar to a brand called Revita. It's got a nice snap to it. It's very airy. Let's try a piece on its own first before we use it for some toppings. Compared to a brand like Revita, this is actually a little more dense. It's got a bit more sort of substance, a bit more body to it. It's got an incredibly strong wheat flavor. You know, you can tell it's kind of like a more whole grain kind of thing. So it's really, really pleasant. It's a very strong sort of flavor. So hopefully this will go well with the main meal, because otherwise there's really not a whole lot of other toppings to put on the crisp bread. And yeah, that's perfect. You know, this is a really hearty sort of tasting meal, and those are really hearty, and you mix them together, and it, you know, just makes it that much even better. Let's cleanse the palate with some of our orange mineral vitamin drink. And that's lovely. It's a subtle orange flavor. It's not going to hit you over the head, but you can certainly tell, obviously, that it's, you know, a vitamin mineral enriched drink. It's got that kind of, you know, electrolyte kind of flavor to it. But yeah, it's really nice. It's clean. It's refreshing. It's incredibly refreshing. Like, you know, I could have drank that all in one go, I think, if I would have let myself, but I gotta sort of save it for the rest of the items. And when it comes to the rest of the items, we've got, you know, 2 dessert items, or 2 snack items, I guess is the best way to put it, and one of our sides. So we've got our fish and vegetables here. It's in a red tomato-based sauce, and I'm sure there's like pieces of, as you can see, some pieces of what looks like onion, and that's either carrot or red pepper, something like that, and chunks of fish. Is that a bone? So yeah, this may not have been cleaned very well, but let's give this a little bit of a taste. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of fishy things. But let's dive right in. It's actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It smells stronger than it tastes. I guess that's the best way to put it. The fish is nice and firm. It is mackerel. That's the easiest way to, you know, it's easy to tell that now. But the vegetables that are in here, they're nice big chunks. They got a nice bite to them. I can't really pick this up sensibly, but trying to get a second mouthful here. But yeah, there's a lot of fish in here, so obviously you're going to get a lot more protein in this. You're going to get your, you know, your fat from the oils that are used. But it's a nice secondary kind of side. If the side item would have been different, you would have maybe thought that perhaps this ration was actually meant for vegetarians, but with the inclusion of that item, obviously this is not a vegetarian menu. Because they're using a fish that's so strong, like mackerel, you don't really get much of the flavor of the vegetables that are in there. I mean, you don't really taste the carrot, you don't really taste the onion. What you're getting is just that sort of overpowering, I guess you could call it, flavor of mackerel, that really fishy, strong flavor. And a bit of the sort of tomato base that's there in the sauce. But compared to the previous Slovenian ration I've reviewed, that's a lot better. You know, dare I say it's actually enjoyable, although I wouldn't call myself someone who enjoys mackerel. But it's actually not that bad. So this has been great so far, I must say. Next we'll move on to our vitamin mineral fruit bar. Like I said, it's probably mostly date-based, if I remember correctly. So yeah, this tastes a lot like a raw bite bar. It's got some oats and stuff in there. It's a lot softer, and it's a little sweeter. So to me, I would say this is a much more enjoyable sort of bar in this sort of type. That of any ration that you get this type of fruit bar, I have to say that this is far and away the best of any of them. Anything better than I've had in Russian rations, in Danish rations, things like that. Yeah, this is far and away the best possible one. And lastly, guys, we don't really have a whole lot left. All we got is our main dessert item, which is our cinnamon cake. And like I said, this smells an awful lot like USMRE spiced pound cake. It's not quite the same color. It's got an incredibly strong cinnamon smell, obviously seeing it's called cinnamon cake. But you can sort of get a little bit more in there. It's, you know, I'm going to check the ingredients list. I was going to say that it maybe had like some nutmeg or something in there or whatever, but going by the ingredients, it seems that cinnamon is the only main kind of flavoring, I suppose. It doesn't say any sort of spices or anything like that. So yeah, it's just straight up cinnamon. So yeah, let's give this a try. And that is delicious. Just wow. Usually those tan Jamitsa cakes, sometimes they can get a little dry if they're, you know, a little bit old, I guess, where they're so dense. Once the moisture starts to sort of go away, it really becomes dry, almost sort of like sawdust. This is perfect. This is obviously something, you know, it's not going to expire for another year and a half or 2 years, I believe the expiry date on this was something like 2020. So, yeah, can't say anything bad about that. It doesn't have like a fake, processed kind of flavor to it. It's got a nice, just sort of, vanilla cake, I suppose, that has cinnamon in it, that kind of thing. And it's a really pleasant sort of flavor that sort of sticks around. It doesn't, it's not like strong at the beginning and then goes away. Like, yeah, I can still taste the cinnamon. And for people who like cinnamon, you would absolutely love something like this. Perfectly moist, falls apart. It's not hard to chew. Right amount of sweetness as well. It's not, it's not overpowering in any way, shape, or form with just the cinnamon. You're eating a nice sweet sort of dessert cake. So, guys, it's obviously a little bit easier to do these kind of ration reviews when it's, not a big 24-hour ration. You got to spread out over a big pile of time or multiple parts. This has been the Slovenian Type C single meal ration, what I'm going to call a 12-hour ration. I got this from an eBay seller who was actually from Slovenia. He was kind enough to send me that one and the 24-hour ration that I actually used for comparison's sake, which was also a Type C. So he was a great seller, and I'll certainly work with him again sometime. I don't know how many of these particular rations are floating around. I know they're incredibly rare, and like I said, I don't like using that word a whole lot. But this is incredibly rare. I'm going to assume, from what I've seen in my searching around, this will be the first time this has ever been reviewed by anybody. So, final impressions, this has been overall a fantastic ration. I use that word a lot, fantastic, but yeah, it's been just great. Every single item has been nice and fresh, and no sort of horrible taste, anything like that. Nothing off-putting at all. I would give this just a perfect rating. Now, I didn't use the coffee and the whitener and all that stuff. Anybody who watches my reviews knows that I don't drink coffee unless it's something like, obscure and old, that kind of thing. So yeah, you'll have to forgive me for not, mixing up the coffee, I guess. So, I'd like to thank everybody for stopping by and giving this review a watch. I've been very excited to get this. I only got this in the mail yesterday, so I tried very hard to get this reviewed as quickly as possible. I didn't want to let it sit around for too long. So I don't know what the next review is going to be. This was kind of what I've been waiting for. I knew it was coming, and it was kind of like, not wanting to do another review just in case it showed up. So I don't know what the next review is going to be. Might be something vintage, I'm thinking. That's probably what I'm going to go back to. I like to sort of fluctuate between a couple good modern reviews and then a couple of vintage and back and forth and back and forth. So, like I always like to say, guys, thanks a lot for stopping by, and have a good one.